Not good. Headline, CNN. Tesla profits plunge. Headline, Washington Post. Tesla earnings plunge. Headline, New York Times. Tesla's 71% drop in profit. Headline, USA Today. Tesla profits fall 71%. Headline, Wall Street Journal. Tesla profit sinks. Headline, Reuters. Tesla sales skid. If you are the head of a company that is having a day like that, how do you spend that day? How do you spend that day that news breaks everywhere? Because, headlines like that are bad enough, but you look at the details, it's even worse. Tesla was expected to earn 41 cents per share. They came in at 27 cents per share. That's like not only below market expectations, it's really, really below market expectations. The first quarter of last year, Tesla made $1.4 billion. The first quarter of this year, we learned today, you can drop the billion off of that. They went from $1.4 billion in the first quarter of last year to $0.4 billion this quarter. And even that was less than it appears. Tesla not only had that 71% drop in profit off of what they did last year, the profit they did have is not from selling cars. Quote, Tesla would have actually lost hundreds of millions of dollars this quarter had it not earned $400 million in interest on cash and investments, and had it not earned $595 million from selling credits to other car makers, which themselves failed to meet emissions regulations. So yeah, it looks like they made $0.4 billion. It looks like they made $400 million, but they would have been $600 million in the negative for this quarter. They would have lost $600 million this quarter if they hadn't had cash and investments, interest payments, and credits that were paid to them from other car companies because of anti-climate change government programs. That's what filled up their balance sheet. Just a catastrophe. And to add insult to injury, the CEO's favorite of all his vehicles, at least the one he really, really, really likes to talk about and show off as much as possible, that is turning out to itself be the biggest disaster of all. Quote, the Cybertruck, Tesla's newest vehicle, which consumed a lot of the company's resources while it was being developed, is looking increasingly like a flop. Sales of the Cybertruck in the first quarter were down about 50% from the last quarter of last year. And they weren't all that good in the last quarter of last year. So if you're the guy who's head of this particular car company, today's just a disastrous day, right? And why is this only happening to your company? Can we just put up those same headlines we just saw? Can we just put up those headlines again? Just put up that same list, yeah. It's not a mystery, right? The reason this disaster has befallen this particular car company, the reason this disaster has befallen your car company, the reason this is happening to you and no one else is specifically because of you. Tesla profit sinks, hurt by backlash over Elon Musk's political role. Tesla profits fall 71% amid backlash to Musk's role with the Trump administration. It's not a business world secret why this is happening. This is happening because of the guy who's the head of the car company. The company is repulsed by Elon Musk. The company is repulsed by what the New York Times gently describes tonight as, quote, Mr. Musk's support of far-right causes. The country really does appear to be just repulsed by President Donald Trump installing Musk, his top campaign donor, in a secretive, totally opaque, newly created pseudo-agency in which his job appears to be to destroy as much of the U.S. government as possible. What do we think of when we think of Elon Musk now? We think of every fired park ranger, every line of old people and disabled people that's out the door at a totally beleaguered and no longer functional Social Security office. We think of every cancer researcher whose study was defunded midstream. We think of everybody who you know who's about to be handed over to the tender ministrations of a collection agency because of their student loans. We think of every HIV and tuberculosis and severe malnutrition miracle treatment program that was working great and saving millions of lives, but that inexplicably was cut off with no warning. because of Elon Musk. I mean, all of these things that have come to pass over these past 90 days. When we think about these things, when we're confronted with these headlines and with these disasters, one after another, everybody thinks not just of President Donald Trump, but of his top campaign donor, who he has installed to do this stuff inside the US government. And so, yeah, President Trump's top campaign donor, his car company just had a 71% plunge in profit year to year. And they were lucky to have that. So if you're Elon Musk today, on the day you get that kind of news, what are you focused on, right? What's top of mind? What are you today bringing up in conversation that nobody's asked you about? Turns out he's really bothered by those protests.
Yeah, the protests that you'll see out there, they're very organized, they're paid for. They're obviously not going to admit that the reason that they're protesting is because they're receiving fraudulent money, or that they're the recipients of wasteful largesse, but they're going to come up with some other reason. But that is the real reason for the protests. The actual reason is that those receiving the waste and fraud wish to continue receiving it. That is the real thing that's going on here, obviously.
Are you mad? Are you bothered? Just a little? You seem mad. In your mind, do you really think that, like, organically, naturally, everybody actually loves you and loves what you're doing? And that all of this is people who do, in their heart of hearts, actually love you and love what you're doing? It's just that they're all out there in the streets because they're being paid to pretend otherwise? You think all of these people are people who love you who are being paid to say they don't love you? Or, what did he say? These are people who are receiving fraudulent money. They're receiving the waste and fraud. Really? All of these people? Really? This was about 300 people in Cloquet, Minnesota, yesterday, silently picketing outside the Cloquet Public Library yesterday evening as Republican Congressman Pete Stauber spoke inside. Were all of these people paid to be there? Or are all of these people in Cloquet, Minnesota, all lazy fraudsters who don't want to give up how rich they're getting off all the fraud money that they're taking from the government? Is that what these folks are doing there? Is that who these folks are? In a totally different part of that same state, 3.5 hours away in Austin, Minnesota, people yesterday protested to try to protect Social Security from Donald Trump and, yes, from Elon Musk.
People protested in Austin against potential Social Security cuts and Elon Musk's comments calling the program a Ponzi scheme. The rally was in response to prior actions of the Trump administration.
He has a tendency to, shoot first and say I'm sorry later. They make a lot of mistakes that they try to walk back later. They say that they didn't have access. Doge has access to our data. I don't want them playing around with my Social Security number.
Attendees also expressed concerns about SSA staffing cuts impacting service.
We've got chainsaw-wielding billionaires who are actively taking apart vital pieces of our government. We can't wait until it's too late. We need to be proactive.
That was Austin, Minnesota, yesterday. This was Palm Springs, California. This was people with disabilities and their families protesting against Trump and Musk's cuts to services for disabled people at the office of their Republican Congressman Ken Calvert. Were these people all paid to be there, Elon Musk? These disabled people and their families are only protesting because they're enjoying so much fraud, because they're all criminals, they're all receiving fraudulent money. They want the waste and the fraud to continue. Really? Do you think so? Is this stuff getting to you? Is this stuff getting under your skin? It seems like you're slightly delusional about what's going on here. Do you want to see yesterday's protest yet again outside the Tesla dealership in Grand Rapids, Michigan? Those people are dedicated. Do you think they secretly love you, but they're being paid to pretend that they don't love you? Want to see the big crowd of really exasperated people who turned up in Normal, Illinois yesterday outside the office of their Republican Congressman, Darren LaHood? Are these people all fraudsters only there because they love waste so much, really? This was Findlay, Ohio this weekend. First protest at age 93. Elon Musk, is there somebody paying her to be there? Or is she only there because she loves waste and fraud? Because why else would somebody be protesting against what you're doing? Here's San Diego, California this weekend. I fought another bully in 1945, World War II veteran. See a paid protester? Does seeing this bug you? Does this keep you up? Kirkland, Washington this weekend. My 401k's pronouns are was and were. I don't know. I don't really get the sense that these folks had to be paid to do this, do you? Here's Boise on Saturday. Big grin. Furor around and find out. Here's Eugene, Oregon on Saturday. Another big grin. I'm so angry. Drop the Kyra in there so you can read this. I'm so angry I stitched this just so I could stab something 4,000 times. Big grin. This was Raleigh, North Carolina on Saturday. First they came for the immigrants and we said, not today, a-hole. This was Peoria, Illinois. Keep your tiny hands off our schools and our science. This was Redwood City, California. There will be hell to pay. Elon Musk, you really think all these people are there because they were paid? All of them? They're all part of a criminal gang participating in a big fraud scheme, right? And they just want to protect their waste in the fraud that's making them all so rich. Really? President's top campaign donor is bothered by your protests. He said today, unasked, on this disastrous earnings call about the cratering of his car company, the stock price of which, incidentally, is the basis for basically all his wealth. He said today on that call, volunteered, that these protests, they're all a hoax. But he also had to reassure investors that he is going to scale back his involvement in the Trump administration in coming weeks. And we shall see. But if he thinks the protests against him in the streets are some kind of artificial trick, some kind of paid hoax, and people don't really dislike him, who's going to tell him about the polling? Because separate and apart from the protests, the polling in many ways is even worse. And it is bad for him and also for Trump. And for Trump, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse with each new poll. For example, the new Reuters Ipsos poll that's out today. Do you approve of the job Donald Trump is doing as president? No, by an 11-point margin. Do you approve of Donald Trump's performance on the economy? No, by a 14-point margin. Should Donald Trump withhold funding from universities he disagrees with? No, by a 29-point margin. Should President Trump take control of national museums and theaters? No, by a 52-point margin. Should Donald Trump obey court orders that he disagrees with? Should President Trump obey court orders that he disagrees with? Yes, he should obey those court orders. 83% of Americans say yes, he should. Only 13% say no. That is a 70-point margin. That's Reuters Ipsos polling out today. New polling out today also from CNBC. Do you approve of the job Donald Trump is doing as president? Nope, by a 7-point margin. Do you approve of Donald Trump's handling of the economy? Nope, by a 12-point margin. Do you approve of Donald Trump's handling of tariffs? Nope, by a 16-point margin. Do you approve of Donald Trump's handling of inflation? No, by a 23-point margin. CNBC also asked, do you think we're going to have a recession in the next year? Americans say yes by an 8-point margin. Then they ask the follow-up question, well, if we do have a recession in the next year, will you blame Trump for it? Yes. Yes, we will, by a 20-point margin. But also, look at this. This is not just for Trump. This is also for Musk. This is also from today's CNBC poll. Do you have a positive or negative view of the U.S. auto industry as a whole? Positive, plus 14. Do you have a positive or negative view of General Motors, GM? Very positive, plus 23. Do you have a positive or negative view of Tesla? Negative, minus 20. Wait, GM is plus 23, Tesla is minus 20. Do you have a positive or negative view of Elon Musk? Negative, minus 20. And this is a nice crosstab for a man who likes to think he's big with the kids. Among young people age 18 to 34 in this CNBC poll, they say they are very positive on EVs, on electric vehicles in general. Generally, young people are positive plus 19 on electric vehicles, but on Tesla, they are minus 23. All the people in that poll must be paid. They must be fraudsters who just love waste. Who's going to tell him? I think the protests are going to continue, including in some places that I don't think Trump or Musk are expecting. Incoming today for President Trump from one of the very, very reddest states in the country, and also from some institutions that he has started targeting that I think he thought would be easy pickings. Some institutions he has recently targeted that I think he never thought would get it together to fight back against him as a group. But both of those things started to take shape today. We've got news on both of those ahead. Big night. Stay with us.